7. Barrett outside the switch. Doncic goes over and great stop. And then he hammers it home. Broke his ankles.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'm bringing guys another 2022 NBA draft video, but this time it's more of a scenario type of video, not really a breakdown video of a player, even though I will continue to bring those videos for you guys, and whenever there's free agency news, all that type of stuff, I will make sure I bring up-to-date content on that. So anyway, the scenario today is the Portland Trailblazers. There's been reports since the Portland Trailblazers have gotten that 7th overall pick in the lottery that they are shopping it for a win-now mode player. And the New York Knicks, will they be on top of this? That's the main question. I know a lot of Knicks fans that are like, yup, we got to be on top of it. We got to be on top of it. But the New York Knicks need to ask themselves a lot of questions before we trade up for that 7th overall pick. Will we trade up while the draft's going on? Will we trade up the night before the draft? Like, that's a huge, big-time question mark. You could say maybe the smarter idea is, like, waiting to see how the draft unfolds and then, like, giving them a call and they're like, holy shit, this guy's still on the board. We need to trade up, like, ASAP, because we don't know what's really going to happen until the draft really occurs. There was a surprise with the Josh Primo pick. Some people had him in the second round, the end of the first round. People were surprised with Josh Giddey at 6 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So there is these projections, there is these mock drafts, but we won't really know what happens, and we won't really know who's on the board at 11 until the draft really unfolds, if you know what I mean, even though I do think there's a huge tier drop-off from the top 4 picks to the 11th overall pick. So a true question the New York Knicks need to really ask themselves, if we trade up, like, do we know what guy's in mind? Like, we better know who's in mind when we're trading up to that 7th overall pick, and how much of a drop-off is there from that 7th overall pick to the 11th overall pick? Are you getting a future star at 7 compared to the 11th overall pick? There's a higher chance we just get, like, a very solid player, and you could say the New York Knicks have too many solid players. We need a dog. We need that pop player for the future, and if we trade up to that 7th overall pick, are we actually going to play the guy? Like, Leon Rose is strictly going to have to tell Tom Thibodeau, like, you better play this guy, or we better all be on the same page when it comes to drafting a player, because we cannot trade up. We cannot give up assets to trade up to the 7th overall pick, and we barely play him. We cannot do that at all, even though some people are like, it's going to happen, Noah, but the New York Knicks are definitely going to have to be on the same page here. So a few players that I do think are going to be on the board when it comes to picking 7th overall if we do trade up. I think A.J. Griffin's definitely going to be there from Duke. If we trade up to 7 and take A.J. Griffin, I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of that. I know we didn't see his true athleticism coming off of an injury. He dealt with a lot of injuries, or dealt with a couple injuries, which definitely affected his athleticism. But as of right now, like, I don't look at him as a pop player. I look at him as a very high impact player, efficient shooter of the basketball, solid defender, strong physical. But I don't look at him as that pop player, that's automatically or someday is going to change the offense and defense. Like, I think he'll change it on the defense side of the basketball, and he's a solid shooter, but at the end of the day, I just look at him as a solid player, so I wouldn't trade up for a solid player. That's no knock against A.J. Griffin. Dyson Daniels, there's a huge chance Dyson Daniels can end up being the Giddey and jump up to 6 in this draft or jump up to 7, because I know I don't take a lot of stock into the pro day of guys knocking down wide open jumpers like James Bouknight at his pro day, but some teams may really look into that film, or some teams may really look into the pro day like, damn, his shot looks a lot better than I thought, his mechanics are better, and he just looked really fluid, and he's mature beyond his years, his playmaking's off the charts. So you never know, Dyson Daniels could jump up in the draft, so we may trade up to get our guy. The Knicks may be like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to take that risk of the Wizards drafting him, the Spurs drafting him. Like, we need to trade up and get our guy. So that's another reason we may trade up in the draft. By the way, there hasn't been any reports of the New York Knicks trading up to, like, really wanting to trade up, but this is just a scenario here. But as of right now, I haven't seen those reports. Benedict Mathurin, there's a huge chance he could be there, but again, you never know. Johnny Davis, there's some projections. Some people have him at 6, and then some people have him dropping to, like, 13. So the Knicks better have in mind, they better have a player in mind that's like, damn, this guy's so freaking good. We can't afford to pass him up, and we definitely have to give him an opportunity from day one, because again, we can't trade up. We can't give up assets just to barely play the guy at all, and they better be on the same page. Like, Tom Thibodeau, it seemed like he didn't want Obi Toppin, but Leon Rose did, because the CAA, and he was just a big fan of him at Dayton, and he was really close with Obi's progression throughout as a basketball player, so it's not a good sign when your GM or president of basketball operations and head coach are not on the same page. But here's kind of my trade scenario here, like a little fake dream trade scenario here. So Randall's not a number one option. Randall's not. Randall, I really believe, is a talented basketball player, but it's up here. It's up here. It's his basketball IQ. He does not make the wisest of decisions. He's very talented and he has a solid skill set and he brings a lot to the game. But it seems like he cannot play in the big market. He cannot deal with the big lights. And I actually think he would be pretty solid in Portland if Chauncey Billups puts him in the right role. If he accepts a role, because it's going to be really hard to tell Randall, yeah, you're going to have to take a step back. I understood what you did like a couple years back, hitting those crazy fadeaway jumpers, but we're gonna put you in a different role. We're gonna put you in the post more. We're still gonna put you in that position to knock down jumpers from the outside. But we have Lillard here. It's a smaller market. Less pressure is gonna be on him. There's not gonna be as many nationally televised games. So maybe the Trailblazers have this mindset like, damn, like we might actually want to trade for Randall. We want to win now mode player. Lillard, it seems like he's locked into staying in Portland. And he's just a big fan of Portland and the fan base and all that because he pretty much came from not a lot. So he's like, this organization took a chance on me. I'm going to try to go as far as possible with this organization, even if some fans don't agree with that and some fans do agree with that. So maybe Randall in a smaller market just refreshes his mind, refreshes his basketball career. Maybe he could work out. I'm not saying Portland wants him. It's just a scenario at the end of the day. But yeah, Randall's not a number one option, smaller market, but my mock trade here is the Trailblazers trade Justice Winslow and Eric Bledsoe. We're going to have to take on some type of big contract, or we're going to have to take on some decent-sized contract because of Randall's contract. Bledsoe's not the best of player anymore. Like, he was pretty solid in Phoenix. The efficiency's not there. He's an inconsistent shooter. You say he's undersized. If we do end up trading for Bledsoe, I would just move on from him, honestly, though, and try to flip him right after that. But Justice Winslow, solid defender, and also solid athlete. He's never really progressed his offensive game, but like I don't see him playing that much again. We might just try to get the pick and flip these guys. Like we don't have Leon Roses with the second round picks, but Justice Winslow and Eric Bledsoe to the Knicks for the 11th overall pick and Julius Randle. So the Trailblazers get a talented player here, and I wouldn't be surprised if they trade for like a Jeremy Grant as well. So they get that 11th overall pick. They could still get a very impactful player if it's like off the bench. Maybe a solid starter. They get Randall, who's talented, smaller market. There's less pressure on him, and maybe he performs at a high level. And I don't want Knicks fans being upset if Randall goes to the Trailblazers and he just absolutely balls out, because it's a totally different situation. He's not the number one option. We know right now, like he's the number one option for the New York Knicks. It may even happen again entering next season. Tom Thibodeau's really high on him. I hope it doesn't happen, like him being the number one option. But it may. Like, just because if he plays well in Portland doesn't mean he would do the same in New York, because he can't deal with the bright lights. But hopefully his attitude issues go away. I think it may be different because there won't be as much on him when it comes to media-wise, the fans, and all that. But when it comes to that 7th overall pick, if we end up trading up, the New York Knicks better have in mind someone they really love. Benedict Mathurin, he's one hell of a talent. Give RJ Barrett that wingmate just for years to come, which would be absolutely nasty. They're both Canadian, the nicknames. We know Benedict Mathurin's skill set. It's absolutely off the charts. I'm definitely going to have a video on him. And even though there's kind of a logjam at wing, Alec Burks / point guard. Alec Burks is like wing / point guard. He's not going to be here moving forward, in my opinion, especially when Thibodeau is eventually gone. We'll see if he's gone after this year, but even like Leon Rose's plans, I don't think Burks is going to be here. He's still looking to build a longevity winner. He's said that since day one. Evan Fournier, he's a solid player, but I don't see him being here long term. I think Grimes is going to be here long term. Reddish, he may not be back if he proves he can't stay healthy again, but if he proves to not stay healthy, if we could bring him back on a cheaper deal, I wouldn't mind it for some depth. But again, your best ability is availability. So if the Knicks do trade up to 7, who would you draft? Let me know down below your thoughts. Peace out, y'all.